To make a better podcast, you need to be a better podcaster, right? Listening to this show will help, but how long is that going to take? Hello and welcome to another Podcast Pontifications with me, Evo Terra. Been talking about time and podcasting and how long it takes to make podcasting better, or different aspects about that all week long. On Monday, we talked about your own personal time horizon. On Tuesday, we went into what's the proper length? How long should content actually be? Or maybe that was yesterday's show. See, all these things get kind of confused to me. And, so now we're going to talk about, once that giant trash truck moves out of the way, now we're going to talk about the time it takes to actually get better at all of this. I mean, how long does it take before you are better at podcasting? We all know, or at least we should know, it's been said many a time if you've been in this for a while, that podcasting is a marathon, it's not a sprint. Okay, that makes sense. Because it just takes, time to put these things in place. It takes time to grow an audience. It just takes time. That's why we're talking about time. But time's a double-edged sword, to be really honest with you. Because just because something is old doesn't mean that it is great. One thing to think about. But at the same time, you need time to acquire skills and do things. So, I'm going to talk about time from a perspective of what it takes actually to get good, something you do. Two things I want to talk about. So my name, Evo. Evo, by the way, means epoch, super long time. So I think about time a lot. And I know that's a weird thing to say, but I think about time and scale and lots of things like that. It's just where my weirdo brain goes. That's one thing. Second thing is that you've probably heard the phrase that was popularized by Mr. Malcolm Gladwell, an author and thinker who I respect quite a lot. Malcolm says that it takes 10,000 hours to be an expert at anything. 10,000 hours. I have some thoughts about the 10,000 hours to be an expert. One, I think it's a made-up number. I don't think we've done scientific research to figure out how long it takes to be an expert at something. But at the same time, it's a fine number. It's a number to use, and it makes sense. From a scale perspective, you have to practice things a lot. You're not going to be a pro tomorrow. Although that doesn't stop people from learning how to do something and then putting out their shingle that says, I can teach you how to do it. Okay, fine, I get that. But it takes some time to do that. So I was thinking about how long 10,000 hours actually is. No matter what it is you want to do. You want to be great at playing the violin? Great, practice. 10,000 hours, you'll get there. Here's the deal, though. If you practice 10,000 hours, 1 hour a day, if that's your goal, to get to 10,000 hours and you practice 1 hour a day, every day, without fail, that's like 27 years. Is that what the number is? I think it comes to some crazy number, like it's a long, long time. But here's the reality. You're not going to practice 1 hour a day every day. That's not enough time to become an expert. That's not enough dedication. Because that's 1 hour in the course of 7 days. That's not 1 hour in the course of 24 hours. That's just not enough. You have to do it more than that. And people who are professionals, who are doing this thing day after day, who really want to get good at something, they're doing it much more like a full-time job. So instead of looking at 27 years, well, what if you did something for 8 hours a day? 8 hours a day, every single day. Would you be an expert at it then? Could you practice podcasting? Could you do the podcasting things? Reading, thinking, doing, researching, whatever. 8 hours a day? That's called a job. And you don't do a job 8 hours a day for 7 days a week. Only 5 usually, or more or less. But if you do that, then you take that 27 and you divide it by 8, which is pretty simple, right? And you get around 3-ish hours. 3 hours, 3-ish days, or years. There we go. I'll get the right threes out of there eventually. 3 years to be an expert. And so that got me thinking about this. What makes me an expert? And I've been doing this for 15 years, so that's half of the 1 hour a day thing. But I've not been doing this for 1 hour. In fact, a lot of my first probably 15 years in podcasting, it was more than an hour a day, but it probably wasn't all that much more than that. So if it was only for like 10, 12 years, that doesn't qualify me as an expert. It's only been since 2016 that I have been making this my full-time gig, working with other podcasters and thinking beyond just the things that I'm doing behind a microphone, helping with strategies and businesses. Now that I've been doing full-time, probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 8 hours a day. To be honest, I'm kind of lazy, but somewhere in the neighborhood of 8 hours a day. So I've been doing that for about 4 years now, so that probably gets me to the 10,000 hours to be there. But here's the thing. When people look for podcasting experts, we tend to put a lot of emphasis on how long someone's been doing something. And I think, again, that's important. To get to these 10,000 hours that you need to be an expert, you need to be doing things for a long time. But at the same time, if you do something for too long or for a long time, you tend to lose sight on what's happening now and what's current and what's changed in the industry. Because unless you actively work at staying on top of what's happening and what the changes and the new things coming in, you tend to just fall behind. There's new things happening that you just don't do. You're just not experiencing because you're comfortable. You do your thing. You're working on your craft. You're honing your skills. You tend not to be looking at things from the outside in. That's where the importance of new people, brand new ideas, brand new ways of doing things. Because they can look at all the history you've done of the 10,000 hours it took me to get to where I'm at. They can look at that, they can listen, they can distill down the things, and they don't have to learn everything from scratch. But they can take that as a springboard and go do something new and unique. I'm going to be honest with you. I have a nonstop, never-ending, low-grade, nagging fear that I'm going to be left behind. It's something I grapple with all the time, and something I actively work to try and change and keep my eye on new things, on new trends, on what's going on in the space that I just don't have a handle on. I really fear that that's going to go away. I also fear that we spend too much time on people who have done this for a long time that don't know those new things. I guess I'm saying the same thing. I'm kind of repeating myself. It's important for you to work hard, to craft your skills, and it's going to take time. You're not going to be at any expert level in 6 months. You'll be a better expert than you were. You'll be better off than you were, but you won't be an expert. None of us will be. 6 months to do anything does not qualify you to be an expert. 3 years, maybe full-time, you qualifies you to be an expert. But I guess if I have a message, it's this. Always be learning. Always look for new stuff. Question the advice you get from everyone, even if they've been around for 15 years. Make sure it's still relevant. Make sure it's future-facing. That's why I called this episode Age and Treachery versus Youth and Skill. The old saying that I love to put out there. But there's definitely value in doing this for a long time. I have been doing this for a long time. This is a new thing that I'm doing. I'm learning all sorts of new things as I do this show. Even 206 episodes in, I learn new things all the time. I try to apply those new things all the time. But I also try to layer that in with the experience I built over the years. Take the time to get things right. Take the time to do things. I appreciate your time spending with these episodes, even though they're only 9 minutes or less, or slightly more, a day, 4 days a week. I still appreciate your time. So thank you very much. I'm going to end on that note. Back next week with a brand new mini-series all about making podcasting better. If you need to, check out podcastlaunch.pro for more services I offer. And I shall be back on Monday with another Podcast Pontifications. Cheers.